Hello class and welcome to Shakespeare 101 with Miss Barr. Today we will be discussing the background information of William Shakespeare, the famous English playwright who lived in the 1500s. William Shakespeare was born in 1564 or 1563 depending on who you ask, and he was born in the month of April. Now the date is not solid in a lot of research that you'll find. There's questioning about what day he was born. Most people believe it was around April 23rd, and he is said to have died around the same day he was born in 1616. Now, there's speculation on that, so keep that in mind. Shakespeare's parents were John Shakespeare and Mary Arden. They were married in the 1500s, and they had a total of 8 children, so Shakespeare was one of 8. That's a very large family, but during the time frame that wasn't out of the ordinary. Now, Mary Arden was from a somewhat well-to-do background, not very high up, but a little bit on the more noble side than we would think. And John Shakespeare was a glove maker by trade, and it said that William Shakespeare would have at some point learned this trade from his father. But as well as learning a trade, Shakespeare also is said to have attended the local grammar school where his family grew up, which was the town of Stratford upon Avon. Now that means the town of Stratford upon the Avon River. And at this local grammar school, he would have learned grammar, rhetoric, languages, supposedly Latin and some of the other classical languages, as well as, the general information that young children would learn. After grammar school, Shakespeare developed an interest in, he was always writing and things like that, and he developed an interest in watching plays and playwriting. But before Shakespeare became the playwright and actor that we've come to know and love, he fell in love. And he fell in love with a woman named Anne Hathaway. And they were married very quickly. And it should be noted that Anne Hathaway was 26-year-old and Shakespeare was only 18 years old when they were married. They had 3 children. They had a first daughter, Susanna, followed by a set of twins, Hamnet and Judith. And it is unfortunate, but Hamnet did die at the age of 11. So after Shakespeare, grew up and went to grammar school, and then he went to marriage and romance, he did become the playwright next. And there's an interesting time period in Shakespeare's life known as the Dark Years, where Shakespeare disappeared, and there's not much that is known about him during this time frame. And it's about a 7-year-long period of time, and the next thing we know, Shakespeare reappears in London, this wonderful city during Queen Elizabeth I's reign, and a lot is going on. The playwright and actually an actor, he acted and wrote at the same time. Shakespeare is known for writing comedies and tragedies and history plays. He is also known for being one of the Lord Chamberlain's men, or one of the Lord Chamberlain's actors, is what they did. And Shakespeare primarily acted at a few playhouses, one of which was called Blackfriars, and then most well known is his own theater, or what became known as his own theater, which was the Globe Theater. Now the Globe is located along the river, in the River Thames in England, in London, and there's actually a replica that was built and used today, and you can go visit it, and you get the whole experience of being at the Globe. During Shakespeare's time, he lived during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. And Queen Elizabeth I was the Virgin Queen of England. She never married. She was born in the 1500s. She became queen in 1558, and her reign lasted for quite a long time. It's one of the longest reigns in English history, and she died in 1603, so Shakespeare actually outlived Queen Elizabeth. She was actually quite fond of the theater and of seeing plays, and this goes very well with Shakespeare's time. But what you are supposed to get out of today's lesson is the background on Shakespeare, the very brief background on Shakespeare's history and brief biography. After his playwriting days and he became an older man, he did retire home to Stratford-upon-Avon, and more on that later. On the board are some additional notes that you can take into account with William Shakespeare's time. We have an image of England in the middle. England is an island, of course, if you remember from your geography classes and everything. I have labeled Stratford-upon-Avon, and I have also labeled London and the Thames River. North of England is Scotland, which I did not label in this instance. I have also given you notes on Queen Elizabeth. Now, the Shakespearean times are known by a few different things, a few different time frames around Shakespeare's birth and death. It was also known as the Elizabethan time period, Shakespearean time period, and the Renaissance. At the top there you have some interesting dates. Over here you have an image of the globe, what the globe would look like. And then up top here you have some dates for his parents' anniversary. And then over